All right, people, back with another one. I'm talking to my good friend again, Norman, CEO of Elevate. Let's talk about salaries. Let's talk about why anybody would even consider going
Yeah.
into this bracket. Norman, what do salaries look like for tech salespeople in their first year coming out of boot camp?
Great question. I think a lot of folks who've heard or know other people in sales, you know that sales can be a huge range depending on where you land. Tech sales is a little bit more structured. So in tech sales, you've got the SDR or BDR position. That's your first foot in the door. And then there's the account executive position. And I share that because there's two different types of income brackets for those salaries, right? So if you're starting out as an SDR or BDR, year one, you're breaking in. You're going to be looking at anywhere between a $40,000 to $60,000 base salary. And that's a wide range, but it's great that you're going to have a base salary because a lot of sales jobs that you may know, like car sales, et cetera, you get zero or close to zero on a base salary. It's all commission. But the way it works is a lower salary in tech sales is usually because there is a bit of a trade-off. You might take a lower salary, but that's because some of the conversations, the sales you'll have, those deals, they'll move faster. So you'll be part of conversations where within one or two calls, a deal could close. And then you'll get a percentage of that deal. And maybe that deal is worth 3 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand. Usually they're smaller deals, but they move fast. We don't need much conversation. It's not going to be the biggest check that a business needs to write. So you're going to get X percent, 8, 10, 12% of that deal. And that's going to go to increasing your total income. So you might start out with $40,000 base salary, but you still could end up for the year 80, 70, 80, 90,000. The other side of that spectrum is you're at a 60K base salary year one, which is great. You get a lot more money up front. The drawback there, the trade-off is now it's much closer to a true consultative sale or a relationship-based sale, meaning these conversations are going to take a couple of months before a deal closes. Usually 3 months, multiple people in the conversation. The value of the deal that you're working could be 30, 40, 50 to 100 grand. So that's a bigger check that a company needs to write. They need to have more people involved in that decision making. And you're still driving it. You're moving the conversation along as an SDR or a BDR, but that deal is going to take longer. So you'll get more money up front in a base salary, and you'll end up getting commission. Sometimes it could be the a percentage of the deal. Sometimes it'll be a set dollar amount. Let's call it 50, 75, $100 for every meeting that you book. But you'll end up near the same place, making 70, 80, 90 grand in that first year. And it's just how weighted is that going to be towards getting commission or having more of a base salary? All right. So that's year one. Um, Rich, what do you think? Should I go into year 2, 3?
Yeah. I mean, like, what's the upside,
Yeah.
12 months after you're in the wreck? And also, if you like, I think it's also important context to give people. Do you think that the targets that, the company set like in the first year are
Yeah.
like, generally speaking, do you think it's like, is it achievable like within like 9 months if people really apply themselves? Or is it like like there's a lot of other traditional fields. This is why I love sales. A
Yeah.
lot of traditional fields where it's just like you have to have that 365 days in. And then
Mm.
like 366 is like when you start like, the next level up. But like,
Mhm.
is it possible if you really apply yourself to just crush those targets ahead of time?
So this is a part of good interviewing, actually, that I would want everyone who's watching this to take part in. And that's asking the hiring manager, the sales leader you end up meeting, what's the percentage of their team that's actually hitting quota? And then following that up, trust but verify, and seeing if you can network with some of those reps directly that are on that team and ask them, look, it looks like it sounds like 50% of the team hits quota, 60%, 70%, right? In any sales team, there will always be a percentage that don't hit goals or exceed goals, right? Because it's meant to be a push. It's meant to be, what's easy for us and what do we put some extra effort in that gets everyone to make more of an income, for sure. But if you start seeing that less than half of the team can hit goals, then goals are becoming unrealistic or something needs to change in order for goals to become realistic. So
Yeah.
that's, I think, what you need. I mean, I don't ever want to get on a conversation and say, well, look, in tech sales or in any company, you can just kind of put your feet back and relax because honestly, if you're in tech sales, you're here because you want to win. You're an athlete at heart. Like you're not here to rest and sit back. But if you ask the right questions and you're with a team where you hear 60, 70% plus are hitting quota, that means whatever you're selling is in demand. And they probably have a great sales team. So that's a great company to be a part of. If you work hard, you're going to over exceed the income goals that you have for yourself, the salary goals you have.
I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Okay, so just to reiterate again, like what's a good ratio of people on the sales team that should be hitting sales quota?
Yeah.
And on top of that, is it normal to be networking with your, I guess, like potential coworkers before you even getting on the job with them?
100%. 100%. So you doing the job to get the job means you deserve the job. So if you are hunting, is what we call it, if you're reaching out to those coworkers, you're trying to establish meetings with them to learn more about their role in the company, etc. That's what you'll be doing in tech sales as an SDR, a BDR, or an account executive. That's what we call hunting, right? You're finding good people that you should be speaking with. You're trying to set meetings with them and establish if there's an opportunity to work together. So if you take that skill set and transfer it into getting the job, you're going to be looked at as a really impressive candidate that doesn't need permission to do the job because you're already doing it, right? They can trust you day one to be doing the work. So absolutely do that. Deploy that skill set. Reach out, investigate with the team, the management team, etc. Try to establish relationships early on. Try to ask good questions about who's hitting quota, and then to hit your question right on the head. If you're at a team and you find out that 50% or less of the team is hitting quota, you should start asking some follow-up questions like why, for example, and not just the hiring manager that's selling you on joining the company, but some of the other ones. Sometimes it could be that the sales team isn't doing the right things, right? Like that's absolutely could be that we should be calling more. We should be putting more energy and muscle in. Other times it could be that there's actually a lot of competitors in the space and it's hard to stand out and we're not doing a great job, right? Or the product is not really in demand. If you find that we only have, 30% of the team hitting goals, that means we as an organization have to change something. So use that as your metric. If you've got 50% or more of the team hitting goals, then if you apply your effort, you've got a pretty good shot at making the income you want and even going above and beyond.
Woo. Okay. So year two, year three,
Yeah.
what do you think is like, the ceiling of like where tech sales can go?
What a great question. What's the ceiling? So I'll say your first 6 months, an SDR or BDR role, if you start out in tech sales, that's where you're going to start. Expect 6 months at the earliest to 18 months at the latest, where you should be considering a promotion opportunity or a different type of sales role. So I say 6 months if you're at a startup where you're just absolutely doing really, really well, you're extremely impressive, and they maybe want to build a team around you, or they want to hire new people to help you be even more successful, right? That's you moving from an SDR to what we call an account executive. That's more of a closing role. So you get SDRs or BDRs to help you send you more opportunities so you can close them, right? At a startup that's fast growth like this, that might happen as early as 6 months if you're doing really well. In a more mature company that's already got tons of SDRs or BDRs and they all want to be promoted, they usually have clearly defined timelines. After you're hitting quota for this many months, you can start asking for the opportunity to get promoted. So you're looking at about a year, year and a half, and on average, right? So that should be your expectation. You're going to commit 6 months to a year and a half, depending on the company. The total amount of money that you can make on average between 70 to 90,000 within that time frame as an SDR BDR. Then your year two, or when you get promoted to an account executive, then you really start to grow in terms of money. So usually account executives have a 50-50 split. 50% of their income is going to be a base salary. Think 60, 70, 80 grand at the my first year as an account executive, right? Just starting out. Second year in sales, first year as an account executive. 60, 70, 80 grand base salary, not uncommon. Then you'll make the other 60, 70, 80 in commission. And this will be a percentage of every deal you sell. So usually first year account executives anywhere from 120 to 160,000 is not uncommon, right? And there are levels to that. So you can be your first year as an account executive, second year in sales, you might be selling only to what we call SMB or commercial companies. These are smaller companies. Conversations move quickly, deals move fast. Not a lot. The deal value isn't a total lot. You can make a lot of mistakes here. Then next year, year 3, you might be selling to what we call mid-market companies. These are larger companies, 500 to 1,000 plus employees. Deals are bigger, and you'll be making more money. Let's say you're shooting to hit 200,000 over 200. And then year 4, year 5, and above, now you're selling enterprise. That means you're only selling the biggest deals that take the longest but have the most on the line. Think about selling to Airbnb or Facebook or Google. These are big, big enterprise companies. It's going to be a huge deals. It's going to take a long time, but you'll be earning over 300,000, 400, 500, depending on the company you're at and how big these deals are. I know, for example, at Salesforce, tons of reps there as an account executives make over $300,000 a year and remote.
Whoa. Whew. Oh man, that's juicy right there. Okay. Well, if you guys are interested that have been watching this entire video up until now, definitely go ahead and reach out to us. The link is in the description. We're going to have a full salary report in a PDF. You guys can go ahead and actually analyze that bit by bit as much as you guys want. But very few roles without a college degree can get you to a 300 to 400K job level within 24 months. So we'll go ahead and talk to you guys all very, very soon. Norman, thank you so much for
Thank you, Rich.
time. I know we have a capstone coming up, right?
Capstone is tomorrow. We have over 8 employer judges that are hiring, evaluating, and offering interviews to candidates that do well from the capstone every single month.
Oh, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. All right. Thank you so much, Norman.
See you, team.